It has been a big week, a huge week in the world of true crime. Obviously, the Karen Reed retrial of the century. The verdict is in. I just got back. I just flew back from Massachusetts. Yeah, the arms are tired.
Oh, very
I'll
good.
explain. I'll explain why later. But it's great to have you with us. The jury is now speaking. So in this podcast, we're going to go through the statements of the jury, but then we're going to take it a level deeper, not just what they're saying, but what it means. Did they misinterpret anything? Are we surprised by what they're saying? Are we shocked by what resonated with them? I've got a mess over here. Everything is just it's moving really fast. It was a big day, a big verdict. I always believe the two words "not guilty" are shocking to me, because prosecutors choose the cases they want to try. And they chose to bring this case against Karen Reed, not once, but twice. I'm Vinny Politan, lead anchor for Court TV, 8 to 10 every night. I'm on television talking about this. Been talking about this story for 3.5 years. With me, Albert H. Wunsch III.
Hola, Tangenistas.
And of course, the radio legend, the one, the only, Jonesy.
Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey.
In fact, yes, this is the Tangent True Crime Podcast.
It's Vinny and the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangent True Crime Podcast.
Here we go. It's the soundtrack of Friday, and it's a Friday. You know what was interesting about this verdict? Usually verdicts on Court TV come in on Friday. This was a Wednesday verdict, but it was basically a Friday because everyone was off the next day. So it had the Friday feel to it. Beginning of the week, I was telling people, were asking me, when do you think the verdict's going to be? I went to my calculations and I said, Wednesday afternoon after lunch. Wednesday afternoon after lunch. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I said the same thing, Vin.
Yes, you did. Yes,
I
you did.
thought it.
And Jonesy thought it. The Friday factor in full effect on a Wednesday because the next day was off, and the jury obviously was able to wrap things up. Unbelievable. We've got a lot to talk about, because it's about the jury speaking. The jury has done some interviews on video, TMZ. We've got one of those. One spoke to the locals, also spoke to a woman on and did a written interview on Substack that was posted. We'll take a look at some of those answers. It's fascinating. One thing I said when I was up there, I said, this is a young jury, and you're going to start seeing some of these faces. And the first two, for me, are young, okay? They look like they're in their early 30s, which to me is young for a jury. Al, you've tried so many cases, right? Usually you get folks, with you get the blue hairs, you get the silver hairs, you get the retired, you get the...
You get a lot of teachers. Okay, I'll tell you that, because, see, the thing is this, you generally will get on a jury people who are getting paid while they're on the jury. So teachers' unions are strict on that. So you're getting paid. Any union worker is usually covered while they're on jury duty. So they get paid with not having to be there. So yeah. I do get a lot of teachers for some reason.
And we're finding out a little bit more about some of the jurors. Let me put this up right away. One of the jurors that is speaking, fascinating background that she has. This is Paula. Now, I think she has two different names, two different last names. I think there's a maiden name and another name, because we'll see her in a video interview. She says, hello, yes, I am Juror 11 from the Karen Reed trial. Please note, I don't use X regularly. I have 4 children, a part-time job, and a busy life. I am a licensed attorney in Brazil.
Wow.
Oh,
Interesting, right? I'm
Yeah.
happy to share my experience, but I will not engage in arguments.
I'm an attorney in Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, Paula's going to be in for a surprise because I would imagine she's going to have a lot of argumentative people.
Well, probably online, but she doesn't go on X regularly. But when you interview a jury, you're not cross-examining them. You just want to understand, what resonated with them, what was important.
Right. I'm talking about Mr. and Mrs. Front Porch, though,
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt, especially in this case. I mean, the other side that was not successful here is attacking the jurors and their answers. And we're going to go through it. So we're going to jump in it pretty quickly here. Let's just get to a couple early messages here. Al, Vinny Politan, you rock. That's the message. Arizona Gal 89. All right.
Through the sunglasses, I thought it said you suck.
No, you rock.
Oh,
Check the
Oh.
prescription on those, Jonesy. Thank you so much. Bittersweets, Vinny, can you accept my apology? I was so mad at Julie and I took it out on you. I'm very sorry. Marie in Denver. Bittersweets, no offense taken. You can get angry with me. You don't have to agree with me. Just don't make it personal.
Brenda,
Just don't make it personal.
Sorry.
You know what the reaction I got from a lot of folks out there, Al?
I could just imagine hatred.
No.
Terrible things to you with a fork.
No, that I'm taller than I
Oh.
look on television.
you're the tallest anchor on Court TV, I understand.
That's right. And some people said I'm more handsome. Now, is that a compliment?
Yes and no.
Well, maybe the sun's in their eyes.
Right.
If they said you're even more handsome in person, that would be a nicer compliment.
Right.
Ah.
So I'm just reporting facts, Al.
It's interesting the
Facts.
facts you seem to report. Okay, this is very interesting what you seem to be able to muster into that mind of yours as something important that needed to be, transposed to our audience here. But thank you for that.
And the glarer today, it was nice to virtually meet you on Justice Served TV, which is an awesome podcast. That's where our friend, Michael Bryant, on Justice Served TV. Thanks for having Nick Rocco, Nurse Kim, Melanie Little, etc. on. Thank you, The Glare. Appreciate the support. Yeah, it was nice being on Justice Served TV. I was wondering where he was the whole time. And then after the verdict, I finally found where Michael Bryant was doing his podcasting from. He had his own blue tent. He had a table. He had this amazing setup.
Good
but
for
it was
him.
it was a little bit further down the street than not in front of the courthouse.
That's unfortunate. Hey, Michael Bryant, I used to book radio interviews for talk shows and stuff like that on the trials we were covering at Court TV. Michael Bryant broke the record. He did 86 radio hits, Q&As in one day on Marv Albert, because Marv Albert's case was so salacious.
Yes.
And I believe they were going to renew his contract. I hope he doesn't mind my review.
Oh, I don't know if you just say anything, Jonesy. Should you?
Okay. But it actually was a positive about Michael.
Oh no, it's definitely a positive, but he may not want to reveal.
Yes, as
Reveal
an attorney, I can tell you, not a good idea to start talking about financial situations and/or
no, it wasn't financial. It was another
contracts, but that's financial.
Yeah, make sure you check out Justice Served TV podcast. By the way,
Yeah, Michael is aces.
Yeah, let's get to it. The first juror came out was juror number 4. This was on TMZ, speaking with our friend Harvey Levin. Let's take a listen. I broke it down answer by answer.
I only speak for myself. I think that she was innocent. It's hard to.
How about that right away?
That's what's recorded. That's a perfect defense juror.
But he said innocent. He didn't say not guilty. He said innocent. How about that?
Well, I like his wall coverings.
I'm trying to figure out what they are.
Yeah,
I
know.
I don't know. I'm sure the internet is all over it. But this is interesting. Innocent, not saying not guilty. But I don't know if it's just using them interchangeably, but understanding that there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
A huge difference. You say she's innocent. You're saying that she's being framed. That even though you may not believe it or know what happened, because of the way the evidence played out here, that would be the inference I would take from that. But he speaks about it. Let's go.
It's hard to tell exactly what people think deep down. There was a lot of things thrown at us, evidence. So it's hard to tell.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to John.
How about that? The juror I interviewed from the first trial, that's exactly, I asked him, well, what happened? He says, I don't know what happened. That is a failure of the prosecution.
Absolutely. That the whole case is what happened to the victim. If you can't decide or decipher what happened to the victim, then you don't have a case. And the prosecution needed to do that. And obviously they failed in this man's eyes completely.
Yeah, let's continue.
Really, I was only presented a limited scope of what happened at the night, and I could only base my opinion off of the evidence that was shown in the courtroom. So I don't really know if there was a cover-up or not. I know that's the big conspiracy around it, but I don't really know. All I know is that there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
Let's talk about that for just a second. Can we talk about that for just a second?
Okay.
He
Time's up.
No.
Oh.
The point is, so the conspiracy cover up, yeah, I get it, but I didn't see evidence of that. But that wasn't my job, which is true. Like this juror is following exactly what a juror is supposed to do, which is hold the state to their proofs. They need to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And he's saying from the evidence that was presented to me, and that's all I can base it on, it wasn't there. There wasn't enough. There were holes in the case. To me, this is exactly where you want a jury to be. You don't want them shifting any sort of a burden. You want them following the law. And this is the law that he's following, that the prosecution has the burden, has to prove it. And he said, from the evidence presented in court. Right. And that's all that they can consider.
Yeah. And that's great.
And that, sorry, Josie, go.
That's okay. I think that people should put that in perspective, what he says. If they are inclined to attack the jury for their decision, because we see a whole different ball game, and if they do see a part of that game, they're not supposed to pay attention to it. So what he says is the foundation of what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. I mean, totally, perfectly on point to where a jury needs to be. Now, the case like this, we knew it was a little different because the defense had a narrative. They obviously pulled back a little bit in this case, partially because of the rulings of the judge who was allowed to testify, partially because of who was put on the stand by the prosecution, and they did not want to call. So it changed their case a lot. But in a trial, the burden doesn't change. The burden never shifts. They didn't put any onus on the defense to prove anything, which they're not supposed to do. That's the only way our system can work. And it worked in terms, you don't have to agree with the outcome, but it worked in terms of the way this juror, and I presume it's the rest of the jury as well, approached their job and their task in understanding what the law is, and they followed it to a T from that answer.
Absolutely right. I mean, it actually restores faith in the jury system when you see somebody who says exactly what he's saying the right buzzwords.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Let's listen to some more here.
Some of them bought that argument. It's just hard to tell though, because whether or not we think that there was malicious intent, we were only presented with the facts that they didn't go into the house. So, there's an example of reasonable doubt. So there's other examples of reasonable doubt. So even if you want to completely buy into the theory or not, that wasn't what we were tasked with. We were tasked with finding, convicting, or, deciding on this person's fate based on the proof and the evidence that the Commonwealth was able to present. And, there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
The holes in the investigation. So now let's say, all right, so what went wrong here? I think we'll agree, and we've spoken about it before. How was this investigation handled for a red rum case? This was not a great investigation.
No, it wasn't.
The scene was never secured. There was more crime scene tape outside the courthouse, on the courthouse steps, than there was at the scene of the alleged crime.
Well, you've got to take a look at totality of the circumstances because of the storm and everything else. There certainly was a different way of trying to handle it. They decided to do it one way. It was not the best way to have done it, obviously, and it led to what was perceived as holes in the investigation. I also think the fact that Proctor, was handcuffed by what he was doing on the side and the comments he was making, and it demonstrated that this was amateur hour for the investigation situation. And look,
holes in the investigation, it doesn't go to Hank Brennan and the prosecution and the arguments. It goes back to when this happened and how it was investigated and handled.
So now,
from the beginning, I never understood. I said, where we usually have these pictures of the scene with crime scene tape. We didn't have any of that. And the fact that there was a storm coming in, to me, is not an excuse. I mean, it's an explanation. They don't want to be out in the middle of the storm, but they have to be. That's your job. If you're a police officer in Massachusetts, it snows. It snows every year. Sometimes crimes can occur before, during, or after a snowstorm, and you have to investigate it. I know it's not comfortable, it's not great, but it's part of the job as being a police officer in Massachusetts. That's, to me, I think that's what happened, though. I think the storm threw everything off. So nothing was secured. It wasn't handled normally because no one wanted to be out in the middle of the nor'eastern. But guess what? There's someone who is not alive on the front lawn. By the way, he's a police officer. You need
I would think that would make them more zealous about it, right?
Should be.
I think there was a rush. I'm not going to say a rush to judgment. I'm going to say a rush to conclusion. I think they thought this was an open and shut case from the beginning. And as a result, we've seen, come on, tail light pieces. She's saying, could I have hit him? I hit him. It's over. I didn't need to investigate this. Well, that's if you believe that she was actually guilty or actually did this, then there's only one. Don't blame the 12 in the box. Don't even blame Hank Brennan. You blame the responding investigators to all of this, because that's what I'm hearing from this juror. Let's hear some more.
Well, one thing that I think that compels me is we did a lot of review of the tapes, and it seemed to me that the videos that we could see from the car after the alleged incident happened, that when we could see the taillight, it was lit up red where it shouldn't have been red. So that leaves to me a conclusion of, well, how come it's red in this video after the alleged, collision happened, and then it's not, it doesn't have any red pieces where it should be red.
Do you know how many, I don't know how many of the segments you were in through the years, but for 3.5 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been putting up the pictures of the tail light, and the guests have been jaded, right? Because we've seen that before. But that's a big part of what it came back to for this juror. Doing the test, looking at the actual videos, videos of Karen Reed leaving the driveway at 5:07, and that's it. The taillight was still red. It wasn't broken. Game over. I did a segment on Vinnie Politan Investigates. It was like, if the taillight is not broken, is it game over? Somehow the theme of the show was looking at one issue at a time, one fact at a time, and seeing if that would be game over. One of them was the taillight, and it went either way. If it was fully broken, game over Karen Reed. If it wasn't fully broken, game over for the prosecution. And guess what? He believed it wasn't fully broken, game over for prosecution. There's no other explanation.
Yep.
It's that simple, Jonesy.
It is that simple, and it is a it's a very valuable lesson for trial attorneys listening to this gentleman, because sometimes it's the things that you may gloss over quickly that end up having the most meaning to a jury that is looking at this case certainly different than you are. Because when you go in on a trial, I mean, it is not an easy process, and you've got to try to anticipate everywhere the defense is going to go if you're prosecuting, or everywhere the state's going to go if you're being on the defense side. And sometimes it's the most subtle things that come out and stand out in a juror's mind. And that's what we're seeing here.
You know what stands out to me? Juror number 4, the wall is perfectly symmetric with the frames. But if you look at the end tables, the lamps on the end tables do not match. Stanley Kubrick or Michael Mann from Miami Vice would never have accepted that shot.
And even on this show, we did the tail of the tail light.
Yes, we did. We did do that. And
this is the whole game. Like, I want to get to one of the photos. Here we go. It's this video. This is the whole case for this juror. He's watching this video. He probably didn't watch it in slow motion, and he sees red where there shouldn't be red.
Right.
And if there's red where there shouldn't be red, it's game over. He looks at that and he says, it was supposed to be broken. They told me it was broken. I'm looking with my own eyes. Don't gaslight me. I'm looking with my own eyes and I see red where there shouldn't be red, and there's no other explanation for it. She could not have struck him. That's what he's saying. Unbelievable. And we did it. I mean, everyone talked about this, but then we got into the deeper into the case, we got into more of the minutia, more of the weeds. And Al, you're right. There's a lesson for every lawyer and for every one of us following true crime, is that for the jury, they come in and go back to the first thing that struck you. And the first thing to me were the images of the taillight. We're looking at the taillight. Does it look broken or not? Period.
Keep it simple, stupid, is really what you've got to be. You've got to keep it simple. And and that's just it. Look at it. That whole case is
why is it red?
For want of a red light, this case is over for this prosecution.
This is the case, Jonesy.
Yeah, that shot right there. You don't even see that piece of white that we discussed and argued over the past couple of years. That shot right there, the lights look entirely intact.
And left tail light looks the same as the right tail light.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is that simple. Like, you can't overlook the simple, which is why I did tail light segments for 3.5 years. For 3.5 years. And then you get into the trial, there's a lot more little nuance, a little issue here, a little issue there. But for the jury, we come in, we don't know anything. All right. Oh, they've got video of the tail light? Let's watch it a bunch of times in the jury room. And that's what they did. Ann Williams. Hello. Thanks for all your hard work. Vinnie Allen Jonesy, I'm hanging on every word.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Did you guys used to play Hangman?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had would set up a real noose.
So the last time I played Hangman, I was, put in charge of the radio crew at Court TV, and I had, 3 workers with me. And the boss made us have a meeting, made me lead a meeting once a week. And I saw it as a waste of time because we were so busy. So for the first one, after everybody shut the door, I had the paper up there, that you would write notes on, and I drew a hangman. And I turned to them, and they all looked at me like, what the hell is he doing? And we played hangman at that meeting, and then emerged, and I told the boss that it was a very productive meeting.
I never liked playing hangman with the person who would then, they do a head, a body, arm, then they would do a hand, then they would do finger by finger,
That's
toe
cheating.
by toe. Yeah. That's illegal. Michelle L., the always handsome Vinny.
I'm beginning to see your point, Al.
I appreciate your coverage so much. Thank you for researching Massachusetts law regarding the confusion on count 2. Do better, Massachusetts. Yeah, there was confusion once again with count 2. Massachusetts needs to do better. Thank you, Michelle L. Al, thanks you as well.
Yes, I do. Thank you very, very much.
Pixie Dust. I love Vinny the Tangents. Vinny, I need some CrimeCon tickets. Can you do a giveaway?
That's an expensive
Pixie
giveaway.
Dust. CrimeCon is going to be amazing this year. All right. We'll take that under advisement, Pixie Dust. Thank you. Great idea. Let's do this. I got to get back to it. Here we go.
Of the tapes, and it seemed to me that the videos that we could see from the car after the alleged incident happened, that when we could see the taillight, it was lit up red where it shouldn't just have been red. So that leaves to me a conclusion of, well, how come it's red in this video after the alleged, collision happened, and then it's not. It doesn't have any red pieces where it should be red.
Keep it simple. Perfect.
Keep it simple. That's
Is there an angle of reasonable doubt to where we're not really sure? Like, are you really sure? Are you 100%, or are you 99.9%? If you're that 99%, we can't convict you.
Whoa. Let's I gotta talk about this one for a second. Okay.
Reasonable doubt.
So for this, and like I said, and I say this all the time, we don't know how jurors will interpret reasonable doubt. It's it's different in different people's minds because we don't put a number on it or anything. But this juror put a number on it.
Yes, 99, which is
99.9.
Yeah. Okay.
That's high. That makes almost any prosecution case
impossible. Almost without
direct evidence, like a videotape of the crime.
And that's him not listening to the jury charge, because that's not what the jury charge says with regards to beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
So, so there we're seeing, a juror misunderstanding. I'm not going to call it misconduct, but a juror misunderstanding of what beyond a reasonable doubt is. If you needed to be 99.9%, no one's getting convicted ever.
Right.
Not going to happen.
So, I put this on the prosecutor. I put this on the prosecutor.
On the jury instruction, because the jury instruction then wasn't clear to this gentleman, at least.
Right. But it's incumbent upon the prosecution to address this, because it is the biggest part of every criminal case, which is the standard of proof, the burden of proof, right? So Jonesy's seen me do this a million times, but as a prosecutor, defense attorneys say they've got to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt.
And you'll never hear of them ever say 99.9.
Right. Okay? But you got to go beyond, like it's almost like you can't even do it. But if you're a prosecutor, ladies and gentlemen, I just have to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
And then I would get into the alternative things. Is it reasonable to believe that this happened? Is it reasonable to believe that this happened? It's got to be reasonable. It's where you put the stress, whether it's on the beyond, which is 99.9, or beyond a reasonable. Like for me, the number is like 93, 94, 95 area maybe is reasonable doubt lives in there. What is it for you, Al, if you had to put a number on it?
75%.
Wow.
75.
Wow.
Oh, Lordy. Bring me that ham sandwich. I'll get him convicted.
Because more, look, preponderance of the evidence is
50.00001.
Right, exactly. Okay. Then clear and convincing is like 65%. Okay, so it's more than preponderance, but less than beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt, 75-80 has got to be the range that you'd be looking at. Just because, look, first of all, there is no way you can do 100% or 99.
No, but there's a difference between 75 and 100. Like that's
well, I said 75-80 in that range.
I'm in excess of 95.
Yeah,
above
95 is almost impossible too.
But that's where that's where my mind goes as far as it's concerned.
Wow.
Now I might be
from the standpoint of
swayed. You can give a number, but if I hear an argument, I might be, I might go against that number. But my gut reaction is I want to be pretty damn sure.
Yeah. To me, this is the most important quote that I've heard so far from a juror.
It's the most troubling. I will tell you this is the most troubling point I've heard from that juror. Everything else I was agreeing with him down the line as to keep it simple, stupid. And when I say keep it simple, stupid, I don't mean the juror is stupid. I mean the lawyer is stupid because the lawyers fail to see sometimes see the forest from the trees and realize that it is the most simple fact that can turn a case one way or another. And that is our fault. So I'm saying we're the stupid ones that don't realize that video in and of itself sunk the entire case, all the money spent, all the time put into it, everything was sunk, but for that one little video of the car afterwards. And that is the most simplest of facts.
Right.
And it is not dealt with properly.
Yeah.
Okay. Or it was not used by the prosecution to say, Houston, we've got a problem. All right. And we need to try to do something here. How would that happen? I don't know. But that's my problem. Is it that, keep it simple, stupid. And we're the dumb ones sometimes. But I mean, to say 95% or even 99.9%, it's impossible. Reasonable doubt.
95 is not impossible. No, to me, that's reasonable. Like I'm like between 92 and 95. Jonesy's above 95. I think a reasonable doubt. I think you should, if you prove it to 95%, I think there's still room for some doubt, but it's not reasonable, if you know what I mean. Right? The reasonable doubt.
Saying I'm unreasonable.
If this is like a 20% chance that this is true, wow, that's like you.
There's a 1 in 5 chance that it is true. I mean, odds wise, that's still, that's still
1 in 5 is taking away your liberty.
Look, the thing is this, all right? You take a look at every piece of evidence can be explained one way or another. The idea is what is reasonable under the circumstances. And that aspect of it, you have a jury analyzing it. And like I said before.
So you think they just had to prove that there was a 75% chance that there was a collision?
I said 75-80. Okay.
We got them up to 80. Do I hear 82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 83?
I'll tell you what. So this way here, I don't get any nasty emails. I'll go to 95 now just to shut everybody up.
95 sold.
But it's impossible to get 95 too. It's almost impossible.
I felt as a prosecutor, I had to get to 95 when I went into a trial. That's the way
I felt as a prosecutor, as long as I got to between 80 and 90, then I was more than sufficient. Because basically it was, there's no open and shut case, even when there's an open and shut case.
Right.
So, if you've got 85, 90%, then you've well done past what you need to do.
I think that 5%, 5, 6, 7% in the top is unreasonable. Amy's Positive Pathways. Vinny, you're the only one I like from Court TV. Thank you, Amy. But we got a great crew at Court TV. I would ask you to watch the next trial on Court TV and listen to everybody and watch everyone. But thank you so much, Amy. Appreciate it. We got a good crew there.
While we're talking about this, I mean, historically, if you take a look at trials in Massachusetts involving
the civil rights and all the revolution fights, World War I and World War II, well, always knows who is who. It's this day in history, this day in history, history. Now let's listen to his story.
Lady Magic Ward, win a prize.
And the duck comes on, you get $50. Now, all right, so June 20th, we'll do the Rev War history first because, of course, we are in the 250th anniversary of our great nation. 1779, the Battle of Stono Ferry, which happened down in near Charleston, South Carolina. British troops were retreating from the Charleston area. They ended up going into a battle with militia forces, American militia forces, led by General Benjamin Lincoln. They were badly outnumbered, but they beat the American militia and inflicted significant casualties.
But we came back and won.
I'm sorry?
But we came back and won in the fourth quarter.
Ultimately, we ended up winning. In 1789, we still were fighting for a little while. 1783, 400 Continental Army soldiers that are unpaid and frustrated marched and surrounded the Pennsylvania State House where the Congress was meeting in Philadelphia. They demanded that they get paid. Alexander Hamilton went outside and said, listen, guys, you know what? We're going to try to work something out. You guys hang out here. Just let me get these guys out of here. And they said, okay, fine. Meanwhile, Hamilton ran and said to the authorities in Pennsylvania, you got to do something. We got all these nut jobs surrounding us. Come there and arrest them.
Now, did Alexander Hamilton say that, or did he rhyme that?
He did say that. Basically, it wasn't necessarily in that song. It wasn't in. It was not mentioned in the play Hamilton. I will tell you that. But he wanted them to get shot. Okay, because he didn't want these mutineers there. The Congress picked up and went to Princeton and set up at the Nassau House in Princeton, and then the Congress did not return back to Philadelphia until the Constitutional Convention in 1787. The number of the mutineers were captured and severely punished for their trespasses.
The Mutineer Club.
In true crime, and this is what I bring up as the analogy, 1893, after a sensationalized trial in New Bedford, Massachusetts, the jury acquits Lizzie Borden of red rumming her father and stepmother with a hatchet. Okay, that crime has never been solved. So this is very interesting. So on the same week that Lizzie Borden was acquitted by a jury, Karen Reed is acquitted by a jury.
Wow!
And then not in New Bedford, but close to New Bedford, Massachusetts. The situation was the two individuals were found bludgeoned and red rummed. There were possible suspects, but the main one was Lizzie Borden, who happened to be home and gave 7 different versions of what was happening to her when these alleged red rums occurred. Notwithstanding saying the jury what happened, which is interesting, right around that time, another individual outside of New Bedford was red rummed with an axe, and there was an immigrant who happened to have done that. And so the jury got wind of that and started thinking that maybe he was the one who did it, despite the fact that there was no proof that he was anywhere near New Bedford at the time Pop and stepmom were.
Did they check his digital data?
They did, and interestingly enough, it wasn't working. He had disconnected it.
Check his Apple Health. Hey, Shay B pointing something out that is 100% correct that we misinterpreted. He said if you're 99.9%, then you can't say she's guilty. Only convict if 100%.
Oh,
that's right, Shay. He was throwing out those numbers, but he was saying those numbers, you're still not guilty. He needed 100%. So clearly, the prosecutor did not put in his 2 cents to help the jury understand the judge's instructions about what beyond a reasonable doubt. Thanks so much, Shay B. That's a great point. We did miss that. We absolutely missed that.
1947, Bugsy Siegel, the father of Las Vegas, is shot and red rummed at his mistress's home in Beverly Hills. He was at the home of Virginia Hill when 3 bullets were fired through a window, and he met his demise. Still to this day, no one knows who did it, but he is the man that is loosely that the character of Mo Green is loosely based on in the Godfather movie.
And who's that? Bugsy? Is that Bugsy? Wah.
Bugsy
Wow.
Siegel. But you didn't call him Bugsy to his face, by the way, because he didn't like that. But
He's called Bugsy because did he have bug? Why did they call him Bugsy? Did he have
because
bugs on him?
he was nuts.
Local.
Oh, okay. I got
And
you.
what happened was New York, the mob in New York moved him out to the West Coast because they wanted to get him away. He went out into the West Coast and set up numbers racket, prostitution, all these different things going on, and then had an idea for a place for soldiers to stop on their way to California to gamble in a little town called Las Vegas. And he set up the Flamingo Hotel. It went grossly over budget, and he was arguing that he didn't have to pay the money back on the loans that he had taken. And then mysteriously he was
He ended
executed.
up, yeah.
He sounds like a basis for Joe Pesci's character in Casino a little bit. Sent away
Yep.
because he's like,
Yeah.
well, he was sent away to watch things, but he was also sent away because he was a madman, right?
Well, in Casino, the character that Joe Pesci was actually based on a real character, not
Yeah.
Bugsy Siegel. Okay.
Mhm.
And then
Christy
finally,
R. 1 second. Christy R. Travel Queen, but Massachusetts adds moral certainty, which means as close to 100% as you can get. Moral certainty to me, though, is still not 100%. To me, moral certainty means, okay, yeah, they did. Yeah, you've explained these things, but these are unreasonable explanations. Like nothing is 100%,
right?
right?
Can't,
Nothing is 100%.
except death and taxes. And finally, on this day, in 1975, I'll see if you can guess what I'm trying to mention here. Da-dum,
I
da-dum,
graduated 7th grade.
da-dum,
Jaws.
dum, 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 dum,
The
dum,
Jaws
dum, dum.
attacks in New Jersey.
No. The movie Jaws came out 50 years ago today, June 20th. Okay, was the movie Jaws based on the attacks from New Jersey that occurred in 1916 in New Jersey. There were 5 attacks on a period of July in 1916. First attack in Beach Haven, second attack in Spring Lake. Then there was in the Matawan Creek,
Yeah.
where 3 were attacked. Okay, so you ended up having 5 people attacked, 4 people were red rummed by the shark. And then if you take a look in Jaws, that
Was the shark ever caught? Was the shark
The
ever
shark was
caught?
never caught. The
Did
shark
you get residuals?
the shark was never caught. They actually dynamited Matawan Creek to see if they could find it. And the thing about that's an estuary. So they couldn't even figure out how a shark got in there because that's also
Right.
partially fresh water. So
Yeah.
they were thinking it had to have been, a bull shark that
Or a land shark. Could have been a land shark.
wasn't a land shark. But so
Oh.
that was what they based the story on. And I highly recommend you watch the movie again. If you remember in 1975, no one wanted to go in the water. Everybody
Right.
was scared on this. And read the book because the book is much different than the movie.
Yeah, and make sure you watch the movie right before you take the kids on vacation to the beach. Yeah, exactly. Ann Williams, love my AI. Sorry, Vin. Oh no, that's Al. Love my
Oh, there you
Al.
go. Thank
It
you.
looks like AI, but love
Bless
my
you.
Al. Sorry, Vin.
Oh, by the way, do you know in 1975, Jaws lost out as Best Picture to
Rocky.
no, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
76.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Cuckoo's Nest. Okay. Back when a movie was a movie. All right, let's get back to our juror.
77.
Yes.
Let's get back to our juror. Let me find our juror. Where is he? I lost him.
Can
There
I
he is.
can I just say one thing though about what
You know, we
just
can't.
here with the jury?
What do you want to do?
I wanted to talk about the fact that this trial, you had all of those people out there, and Vinny, you did a great job.
He's going to talk about. Wait till he talks about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Convict you. It's hard to prove that the collision happened. So if there's reasonable doubt that happened or that there may have been foul play, if there's room for that, then it's hard to come to a guilty verdict.
So he's saying there was room for potential foul play, acknowledging that, and that the collision was not proven all the way. Very significant.
That is that's hugely significant, and therefore it was the right decision by the jury as far as he's concerned.
Do I think it was a corrupt police investigation? I don't know. There's no way for me to know. I can't. I wasn't there. There was just there was holes in the case that left for reasonable doubt. I think they could have checked some boxes or done some things differently. But do I know that they were corrupt? Absolutely not. I don't know that there was any corruption going on. But do I know that there wasn't enough proof or evidence secured by the police to convict Karen Reed? Absolutely.
Secured by police, getting back again to the investigation. Don't blame the prosecutor. Don't blame the jurors. Blame the investigation.
Okay, but to that effect, you do have to kind of blame the prosecutor, because the prosecutor is only as strong as the investigation. And if you don't feel you have a good investigation, you don't bring forth a case on second degree. I mean, that's absolutely the
Why
most.
do you think it was second degree?
Well,
I'll tell you why.
Because the Massachusetts statute is a little, it's much different than what would happen in New Jersey. This would not have been a second degry crime in New Jersey. It would have been a manslaughter.
You know why? Because the victim was a police officer.
Well, that always gets raised up anytime there's a matter in uniform.
Let's be honest. If John O'Keefe was not a police officer, it would have likely been a manslaughter case, which is what it should have been. This jury very quickly got rid of counts 1 and 3 because they sent out the note on day 2. They mirrored the first jury very quickly and then debated the second charge, but they weren't debating. They debated a little bit, but they quickly got past any collision. They found there was a reasonable doubt as to whether or not the collision took place. They were debating OUI, believe it or not. They were like debating OUI based upon the note that they sent out. Let's continue.
There was not.
Here's the one you were talking about, Al.
It made it harder because all of the eyes are on us. We were told we're the most important people in the courtroom, and they keep us away from the crowds of people in the front of the courthouse. But we do see them, and I don't think that having all those people swayed me to go either way. We were only tasked with looking at the evidence. We were 12 jurors. We had to back up how we felt in this. For our decision, and we couldn't let any outside factors, her punishment, we couldn't factor any of that. We had to look at the evidence that was presented to us, absorb it, really understand it, and see if there's any reasonable doubt, and there was.
And there you go.
Okay.
So he's acknowledging, hey, we knew they were out there. We knew they were out there, but it didn't impact us. We had a job to do.
Okay, but it took the arrest of an upper middle class white woman before Massachusetts residents started to believe that the system is broken and the cops are corrupt. Okay, what are these people going to be showing up to the other trials that are going on for African Americans and Hispanics that are being brought up on
race thing? Why are you making this a race thing, Al?
Because what bothers me is that no one's standing up. You take a look at these cases, and I went on the New England Innocence Project and took a look at the cases that they're handling, and the fact that the highest number of exonerations in Massachusetts are Black and Hispanic defendants, exonerated years later. Okay, no one talks about crime and corruption with regards to their arrest or what happened with their prosecution. No one is out there in Commonwealth versus Gaines talking about what happened there, or Commonwealth versus Mercado, or Commonwealth versus Pasquale Santana. No one's out there protesting that. Okay, no one's out there protesting that, Vinny. So let's not be hypocrites, folks. If you believe the system is broken,
you have to know about the case.
So why wouldn't you know about the case? Learn about these cases. Go on the Innocence Project. They have every case detailed. It's perfect. Go make a contribution to the Innocence Project and let them and take a look on this and show them you have support, that if the system's broken, it needs to be fixed. Okay, but what's going to happen? The pink shirt's going to be put away, and no one's going to be out there because the guy's last name is Mercado or Gaines or Pasquale Santana. All right, so if you're going to be out there, folks, and you're going to be attacking me and attacking everybody else, okay, let me see you put your principles, okay, for everybody, not just one defendant. That's my point.
Look at Al's getting angry.
Because like I said before, I have answered so many different comments that have come through with everybody telling me how corrupt the system is and how corrupt the police are and how the system's broken. Okay, but I didn't hear any of this prior to this trial. Okay, why is that? How come I didn't hear this? Like I said, when the defendant Mercado was brought up by the Commonwealth, and there was a system with regards to a ridiculous, voodoo science on an expert. I didn't see anybody out there picketing. I didn't know about this case. Okay, nobody was out there.
You want the public at large to start doing their legal research, or do you want someone else? Like, this case took on a life of itself because one person, Turtle Boy, started covering this and uncovering what he felt was massive corruption, and he took it upon himself to continue to bang the drum on this story. And that's how people found out. People found out, and then people start talking about it. That's how it happens. It wasn't 30,000 people, independently researching this. No, it's like one person is uncovering things and is putting it out there on YouTube and on social media and in his newsletter, and people are sharing it and sharing it and sharing it. It's the power of social media.
Then don't stop there. Okay, folks, if you want to change the system, if you want to demonstrate this is corruption.
You have to yell at him, Al. You look so angry at these people. Jonesy, doesn't it look like he's angry at everybody?
No, I just don't like hypocrites.
He doesn't look angry. He sounds angry.
I don't like hypocritical behavior. And I don't like them pointing to now telling me that the police are corrupt and the system's broken because they arrested an upper middle class white woman when they were nowhere near any of those allegations when these three individuals whose names came up were being wrongly prosecuted. Okay, so it is a system that if it's broken, if there's this, then be there for every trial. Be there advocating on behalf of people who have been wronged by the system and by what you call a corrupt police department. Okay, it's not just Karen Reed, and that's what you have to do. Go on the Innocence Project, folks. Go on
the Innocence Project. Don't they pretty much just focus on DNA cases?
No, but what the thing is that DNA is part of it, but they're also looking at cases that were used with phony experts or experts that
junk science. Right. We've got a bunch of comments we had to get through here. Al Dente. Thank you so much, Al. Ironic, John DePietro hit and run, backing into a SUV, cracking a piece of tail light, left a note after being confronted on the day of the Karen Reed innocence. So this is a guy, it was a regular guest on my program, and he firmly believed in the prosecution case, and he was an advocate, and he live streams on it, and he became the focal point of all the anger of the crowd. He was the one, if you saw after the verdict, when he exited, because he was inside the courtroom covering it, he got one of the media passes. When he walks down the steps, leaving the courtroom after the verdict, he gets booed by the entire crowd that was outside. And he took it, in good nature. I spoke to him afterwards. But what happened to him earlier in the day when he was parking his car, he backed into someone's car and cracked their tail light.
Oh, jeez.
And someone captured all the aftermath on video.
That's hilarious.
So John DePietro, who's been talking about this, and he's good-natured about it. He was on my show. I talked to him about it. I talked to him on the air about being booed, and it is what it is. Like he was very passionate advocate for the prosecution.
I was involved in that exact same incident recently. It has nothing to do with Karen Reed, but it has to do with this. On Mother's Day, I witnessed a car pulling out of a spot at a restaurant, in the lot that took out the car next to him and caused substantial damage. And my gal, Gina, held up her camera as though she were taking a picture of their plates as they were leaving. They leapt out of the car. The man approached us, got into a huge shouting match, grabbed my gal's phone and threw it, thus escalating the situation. Or he actually took it and ran away. And I was going after him. Give me the phone. Give me the phone. Then he knocked my hat off. He kept getting in my face saying, "What are you going to do about it?" Then he drove away from the accident. I left a note on the vehicle, just like happened in this particular situation. I left a note on the vehicle, and I'm due to go to court, traffic court on Wednesday, because they're being brought up on a hit and run. I realize it has nothing to do with the case, but I just couldn't help but bring that up.
Unbelievable, Jonesy stepping in, and the young, what do we call her? The little lady. Squeeze.
Well, no, people won't like this, and I'll get bad comments for it. But we do a radio program together where she is called The Broad, and it's affectionate. It's from the Sinatra era, and the reason for it was to protect her identity because of some of the things I say on the air.
Gotcha.
Then eventually, as the years evolved, she co-hosted the program with me, and that's her nickname, The Broad.
Was Dame already taken?
Dame.
Chippy. I used Chippy many years ago for a different broad.
Jean Ann Albright, thank you so much. Appreciate the support, Jean Ann.
Thank you, Green Ann.
Have you aboard. By the way, we're live streaming on my Facebook, on my YouTube, on my Twitch, on my X, and on the Court TV YouTube channel. If you are a follower or a subscriber of mine and you're not subscribing to Court TV, make sure you do it. You can also apply to be a member over there where you get real perks. And if you're on Court TV watching this, come on over to Vinny Politan 1 and subscribe as well. We don't have a membership program yet over here. There's been a lot of talk about it, but we just don't have it yet.
Yes.
Membership has its privileges.
Yes. We don't have a membership program, but you know what we do have?
A store.
Merch?
Some true crime merch.
Hey everybody, I've got something for your body. Your body. You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's true crime merch from Vinny Originale. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch from Vinny Originale. From Vinny Originale.
Yes, you can get your allegedly, your Tangenista stuff, person of interest, tangent podcast stuff, mugs. I promise this is the weekend. I'm going back into the shop. I've got some new items that we need to get online for everyone. All right, we're going to spend the next bunch of minutes just going through a bunch of messages that we got here. So let's get to it. Larissa Harris, Nick Barrow, only credible cop. Absolutely. Not was it the same taillight he saw initially. Hank's tricks don't work on me. Trial 1, Yuri loading the car on the truck, gaslighting color of the taillight, not what's on the video. Thank you so much, Larry Sia. Yeah, you had a cop who wasn't a Canton cop, who wasn't a state trooper, who testified, and he testified that the piece of evidence that they put in, the photo of the broken taillight, is not what he saw when it was seized by the state police.
But it's interesting. You didn't hear the juror mention that.
No, the juror went straight to the video.
Right.
I've got eyes. I'll take a look at it. Let's see. The jury, Jennifer Lego. Let go my Lego. Thank you, Jennifer. The jury ended our suffering. XXOO to Al. Al, please create a YouTube channel. Hello to Vinny and Jonesy. How about your own YouTube channel? Just Al.
Et al. That's what I would be.
Et al.
Yeah.
You just got to use 2 capital letters, because if you do it A lowercase l, it looks like AI now.
I may sue AI.
Yeah, you need to sue AI for going after your name.
That's right.
But Al is real. Maybe you will. Why don't you do a YouTube channel? The Life of Al.
I'm not leaving the tangents. I've got to stay here.
No, you don't have to leave us, but you can, it's like a spin-off. like the Jeffersons,
Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, all spinoffs, Maude, Good
Maude.
Times.
That's right. That's right.
How about the spinoffs that never made it? During some shows, they would do an episode and they would feature one character in hopes of spinning him off. They did one with Woja Howitz's Home Life with the Lady of the Evening that was terrible, and Barney Miller. And they did one of Horshack's Home Life on Welcome Back, Kotter, which was absolutely terrible. Neither one of them got picked up. But
And then it was After MASH.
Yeah,
After
MASH.
I do remember After MASH. Yeah, and then there was also the one where he's a doctor.
Well, that's Trapper John MD.
Different
Yeah,
actor.
Trapper John.
That was a successful one, but there was a show called After MASH, which had Klinger, Father Mulcahy, and Radar, and that went nowhere.
Wow.
I'm curious what the jury thought of the judge's defense. Would object. She would overrule, but prosecution would object all through the trial. She sustained biased judge. Presley, that's interesting because one of the jurors did speak about that. And I have it on a written word here. I will try to find it for you. Let me see if this is it. Okay, I found it for you. Thank you so much, Presley 57. This is that juror. I believe this is the juror who is a Brazilian lawyer. I wouldn't. Did you feel the judge favored either side in this trial? I wouldn't say favored, but especially during the defense's case, I noticed a lot more of I'll allow it being said right after objections from the defense. I understand that certain words or facts can't be introduced, and sometimes attorneys try to get something in by asking questions they know will be objected to. Still, Dr. Russell, for example, was hard to follow due to the constant sustained objections from the Commonwealth. So this juror did feel like things were going a little bit more towards the prosecution, but also acknowledging that defense attorneys are usually a little more aggressive in there and usually have more objections that are overruled.
All the time.
All the time. But thank you so much. Great point. Let me get that one out. Get to the next comment. Michelle L. Every piece of reasonable doubt, thank you, Michelle L., is not of the same value, making it more of a subjective qualitative assessment by the jury than a measurable quantity.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Now, pieces of reasonable doubt, I talked about this before. Like, reasonable doubt is relevant to only the elements of the crime, not every fact in the case.
That's right.
The fact has to, if you find reasonable doubt in a fact, it has to be directly correlated to proving or attempting to prove the element of the crime. So if you need that fact to prove the crime and there's reasonable doubt about the fact, then there is reasonable doubt about the element, then there is reasonable doubt to the charge.
That's right.
And that's sort of how that works.
That is quite a thoughtful and intelligent comment there from Michelle L.
Always.
That's a great quote.
Always. All right, let's get to, we've got, I think we got a few more that I've got to scroll to. I'm still like 15 minutes behind on the comments. I just want to make sure we get all the supers.
I noticed you get all the ones that talk about you. You always seem to find them very quickly.
They stand out.
One about you.
Very interesting.
Yeah, actually, we had two good Al ones.
All right.
So let's just, all right.
Nobody
This is
likes Jonesy.
Jay Coop. I have lost all my respect for Court TV. Your guests like Coffindoffer, shameful. I hope Karen Reed. Oh, lost so much respect. Well, Jay Coop, I read these live on the air. No reason for the personal attacks. And
None at all. None at all.
You can disagree with someone's perspective, but Jay Coop, you have to remember this. Not everyone sees the case the same. Some people see it this way. Some people see it that way. That's what we have trials for. And ultimately, there's only 12 opinions that matter at the end of the day. But this case was never clear cut. That was taught to us by the first jury, who was deadlocked. They were deadlocked on the issue of whether or not a collision occurred. It was actually 9-3 that they believed there was a collision. They didn't believe it was red rum, but they believed it was a collision. 9-3 for a collision first time around, 12-0 no collision second time around. Right. So people having a different perspective of the evidence in this case, yes, absolutely. You know, we talked about all the changes in trial 1 and trial 2. The biggest change between trial 1 and trial 2, the jury. 12 different people are watching the case. 12 different people. Now, I that first jury almost convicted her.
That's the
Almost
second
convicted
time,
her
right?
of involuntary manslaughter. It was 9-3. So, Jay Coop, what I would say is please watch the next trial. If you don't like someone's opinion on one trial, watch the next trial. Maybe you'll see it the same way. We've got huge cases coming up on Court TV, including the Idaho 4 case, which starts in August. The defense is trying to get it delayed, but right now it looks like everything is on for August, and that's going to be another enormous case. And that is a big true crime case. Let's see who we have here. Trying to
And you know what? Listen, everyone has the right to their own opinion on a situation like that. I mean, we always talk about the First Amendment and stuff like that. You have the right to defend your opinion. And you have, anyone on Court TV who goes up there is looking at what they see and is taking their experience from where they've been. They're all lawyers. So they look at things because these are cases that they've handled or handled somewhat like. And you know what? You have to respect that. All right. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to respect it. And to get to the point personal with anyone is just absolutely just asinine. It should not be that way.
Yeah. It by definition, our system in every trial always has two sides. By definition.
Yeah.
At least two sides. And traditionally what I used to see with a lot of the cases, the true crime cases that we cover, the whodunits, is that there would be the prosecution version, the defense version, and then the viewer's version, which was always a little bit different, which I always found fascinating. Jean Ann Albright, thank you so much. Litzy, thank you. They are donating all remaining donations to the Innocence Project, though.
Good.
Lawyers
Good.
and Karen's family are asking for donations to go there. So I guess you screamed at everybody, and they abided by Angry Al.
And you know what? I'm glad to hear that. And that's exactly the way it should. And so everybody, sell your pink shirt and send it over to the Innocence Project.
I may have to come up with a jingle for Angry Al. Should I, Jonesy? Have an Angry Al jingle?
Well, he doesn't always come out as Angry Al.
No.
So
I just, as I said,
but if you had one in the ready, that would be nice.
Well, I think we're going to see Angry Al after I put up this next comment. You ready?
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Jay Coop, thank you. Al, didn't you accuse an innocent woman of being guilty? What have you done against corruption? You were defending the Commonwealth.
No, I wasn't. I was taking a look at what was presented and giving an opinion on it.
Yeah,
I didn't declare her. What did I say from the beginning? I have no, axe to grind on this. I'm listening to the evidence, and I would respect that whatever the jury came back with. I am not questioning the jury. I'm not attacking the jury. I am simply saying that the jury came forward with something that was very interesting as to the juror number 4, as to what he latched onto to say that she was not guilty. Yeah. And that was that one video. And that's, as I said, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
I certainly think I would have missed that point if I was prosecuting the case, and certainly think I may have missed that point if I was defending the case. It's a very simple point. It demonstrated that this woman got off because of that. I never called her guilty. I never, ever. You can check every one of our Tangent broadcasts. They're all online.
You know what, Al? I think Jay Coop is going to.
That's fine. That's fine. I've never said she was guilty. Never
Eve
said
loves God.
said,
Thank you, Eve. I agree with Albert and Karen Reed. Will have to be tried by the real judge in the eternal life.
No, I'm going to be tried by the real judge in eternal life. Okay.
There is one real judge.
I'm going to have a stay of execution for quite some
judging
time.
All of us. Thank you so much, Eve. Larissa, again, watch trial for Netflix. Sean Ellis tried 4 times in Massachusetts. The crime lab drug scandal in Massachusetts. Both scientists taking the drugs of those arrested. All locked up cases. Reopened because of corruption. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of those cases. In the staircase case that I covered years ago, Michael Peterson, the expert who testified in that case, was faking results. That got Michael Peterson out.
Yep.
It was an outrage. It was completely outrageous. Every case he touched ends up being impacted. That's why the prosecution, investigators all have to be super squeegee clean. If they're not, I learned this as a prosecutor, if they don't trust them, if they don't trust police and the investigators 100%, your case is doomed, because that is what is required for many jurors to get beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you, Larcia. Let me see who else we have here. Again, I got to get through all these comments before we run out of time. Let's go. How far behind, right? I'm still 15 minutes behind. So if you've posted in the last 15 minutes, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm scrolling very quickly with my index finger to get to all of them. We haven't even had that much time for fun music today. It's just been such an Jonesy, this reminds me of the day after verdict on the old Court TV radio show.
How so?
The phones would light up.
Oh,
Yeah,
The phones would light up. All right, Common Sense Investigators, CSI, thank you. Al, you have to educate yourself, as well as the pink shirts are holding signs for other cases locally, like Enrique Delgado Garcia and Justin Root. Yes, I did see those signs in the crowd.
Good. They're going to be at the courthouse?
They were at the courthouse.
That was at that courthouse when he's on trial. Was he on trial the same day?
I don't know. I wasn't
Okay.
there.
Well, let's see.
Okay.
As I said, you know what, folks? If the system is broken, that's fine. Let's fix it. If the cops are corrupt, then we have to do something about it.
Angry Al.
Support the
He's
Innocence
not your
Project.
pal.
Support the
He's
Innocence Project.
angry. He's
anger
angry,
is an
Al.
energy.
As I said
Police
before, the
corruption
largest
everywhere.
number, like Vinny, the largest number of exonerations in Massachusetts are Black and Hispanic defendants. That says something to me, and that's something that needs to be addressed,
All right.
especially on Juneteenth, as we're celebrating that in New Jersey today.
Police corruption everywhere. I was strangled by my husband in front of my kids. I'm so sorry, Redondo Beach.
Oh my God!
Police
that's
did
horrible.
nothing. Police corruption everywhere.
Well, that I don't know where you're coming from, what state that is in, but I can tell you
Redondo
that.
Beach is California.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that, so I didn't see where. But the in New Jersey, he would have been automatically arrested. As soon as
Reality
there's a
check.
mark on your neck.
Reality check. Thank you. Still waiting for you to see the corruption in Norfolk County. You have the evidence. Do some digging.
I'm begging you guys to do digging.
Vinny, you
Casual
demolished my
digging.
name. I was calling her Larisia. Laricia. I think I got it. Laricia. Right? How would you say that? Laricia? Sorry, Laricia.
Laricia. Yeah, Laricia sounds right to me.
Jury Duty Pod, Kimberly B. I vote for an Al podcast, Historic Al.
Ah, that's cute. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That
There
is
you go.
actually very good, because you're both hysterical and historic.
Ow.
Jay Coop, time for Angry Al. Al needs to educate himself before he judges.
Who's judging? I'm suggesting that we need to get to the streets if there's problems.
All right, Rachel in Massachusetts, thank you. Did you read Jess Machado juror interview? I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
Not yet. All right, we're almost
I'm waiting
current.
for the
I'm 10
movie.
minutes behind, and we have only about 4 minutes left. 10 minutes behind, 4 minutes left. We're fighting the clock. We got to beat the clock. Remember the show Beat the Clock? I love that show.
Yes.
Remember the song "Beat the Clock"?
Oh, yes. You got to beat the
Sparks.
clock. You got to beat the clock. All right. Wow. We're getting close to the end, folks. I'm going to try to get to everybody's question, everybody's comment. It's just tough to get to all of them, but we are trying. All right, we do the special short version of Thank You, April Diaz. Have a great weekend, my loves. I think people came for John being a cop and stayed for Karen. John got lost in the mess. That did happen. But nobody said anything bad about John O'Keefe. The victim was not trashed. The victim may have been lost in some of the sauce. But thank you, April Diaz.
No, we have an unsolved murder right now, which is very sad.
Yeah, sad for the family, sad for the kids, sad for everybody.
Sad for law enforcement.
On many, many levels. Jay Coop is hitting us again. She was a prosecutor. The law is everyone is innocent till proven guilty. No defending her behavior.
What?
Huh.
What are we talking about?
I think he's referencing someone else. You're presumed innocent. The presumption of innocence applies in our system of justice. The presumption of innocence does not
Criminal
apply to the
justice.
court of public opinion. The court of public opinion under the First Amendment, you can have opinions about things. You are not bound by a presumption of innocence. It's jury instruction. It's the way our system and our government must treat you as an accused. But our government also acknowledges that people are allowed to speak their minds and give their opinions. And opinions in this case were based upon evidence in the case and the interpretation of evidence. So there is a difference between the presumption of innocence until being proven guilty in terms of giving an opinion versus stating a fact. So factually in our system of justice, yes, presumed innocent and remains innocent until proven guilty. Having never been proven guilty on those charges, she has always been innocent under the presumption of innocence. You are correct, Jay Coop. But it's a battle of, you're talking about a battle of constitutional issues here, and we appreciate the conversation today. Blue, I thought she was innocent first trial, guilty second trial, yet the jury thought the opposite. Prosecution did a good job second time around. That's interesting, right? How do you think the prosecutor from the first case is thinking today? He got bumped from it, yet he did a lot better.
Yeah,
he did a lot better.
He did.
Jennifer Lego, the mods handling the trolls deserve free merch. Free merch for the mods. Free merch for the mods. Thank you, Jennifer.
Attica.
Oh, I still got more. Jay Coop, you put down supporters for the First Amendment. She was a prosecutor. You sound like hypocrites. Jay Coop, you're killing me today.
What? I don't even know what he's talking about.
Nor do I. Yeah.
Vinny Coffin Doffy diagnosed Karen with wet brain on the ID doc. She cuts below the belt regularly. She needs to do the same. I didn't see I didn't see that particular thing, but thank you. How did I say it? I thought I got it right.
Larissa.
Larissa.
I met a girl named Larissa.
I'll tell you what, if I can get the correct pronunciation, she deserves a song now. So if somehow I can get the correct way to say that name, I'll try to do a song for you. RN, CGSU, anyone believe Karen Reed guilty? How do you explain x-ray showing no damage? How do you explain personal friend of Albert's as lead investigator? Michelle L., my love to Al and Jonesy as well. Of course, thank you so much. We are in the stretch here. We have to get out. We are on a strict time restraint here. I want to get everybody in. Eve loves God. Correction. I agree with your points, Albert. I only meant Karen Reed is going to be judged for her part in John O'Keefe's death. So you've been absolved. Oh, we've got more. Jay Coop again. So Al, now you think protesting is good as long as they're black. You trash those supporters. Which one is it? Do better.
Mr. Coop, you've flown the coop. Okay, dude. Here's the situation.
Don't get mad. RN, CGSU, can't police so bad. FBI came for both Birchmore and O'Keefe murder. All right. I think I got them all. Oh, one more. Eric Velasco, thank you so much. All right, folks. We are out of time. I've tried to get them all. There's Eric again. Can the PD go to the Albert's home with a black light to look for blood to clean up? You can, but they won't. That will not happen. The investigation is over. The case is over. There may be a civil case. One thing to do. Say good night, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
Hasta la vista,
Thank you to the mob.